Greetings fellow traveller and welcome to another video. That's right, I'm still wearing this hoodie. Leave me alone. Wallowing around, trying my best to make some art. Doing my best, I'm only human. Alright? Get off my back. Hey, so yeah, before we get started, I just thought I'd say for this drawing, for this image, I wasn't sure what to do. I've done quite a few little drawings, and I've also done a couple of like time lapses of some commissions I've recently done, and I'm just not really sure when to upload them. I'm sort of waiting to see if the people that have commissioned me have like uploaded it themselves before I do my little time lapse. So I was just wondering what to do, and then I did this drawing pretty recently, a few days ago. So you're getting it now. I was paying attention to my channel and the videos that I've been uploading just to make sure that there's like variety, but I also don't do too much of one thing or like too little of something. So this is just your Poncho Pilgrim weekly dose of just some legit pixel art from the dome, imaginary landscape thing. Who knows what this is? But before I go any further, I will say that this idea, this general piece of art, right? I was inspired by the artist 6VCR on Twitter. She's great. She's a great artist, pixel artist. Go follow her. It was specifically this piece. She's incredible what she does. It's like a different style to sort of my stuff, but it just feels so intricate, and there's such like layered textures, and everything feels like a bit glitchy, but everything's so like smooth and detailed and incredible. It's amazing. It's an amazing style of pixel art. It's great. I love it. Go check her out if you haven't. But specifically, I don't know if this happens to you, but like I was looking at something that was talking about like inspiration and where to get inspiration, and they were like saying like if you want to make comics, don't only pay attention to comic artists, like figure out like other interests and other avenues of creativity that could inspire you. For example, if you were like interested in making like doing drawings of buildings, maybe look up, as well as architectural design and stuff, look up weird like natural things or like tree formation or rock formation that would inspire a design for a building, you know, that kind of thing. Although this isn't specifically that then sort of just made me think of like, you know, like where inspiration comes from and how you always think up new ideas based on random stuff. Or even when it comes to art and drawing and images, sometimes I get ideas from like tiny sections of other bits of art. Like someone might have drawn, you know, something, and then in the corner there's like a little bit of water, and just the way that they've done that little bit inspires a whole image in my head, you know? So this weird little like cubey building that she did with the harsh lighting where one side's like really lit up and the other side's like quite dark, and the way that it's like a very sharp, angular object on top of like a natural environment, that was it. I was away. I instantly just knew I wanted to create some sort of weird tower thing. And then the tower became a windmill, and then the windmill became multiple windmills, and I ended up with a sort of strange, fantastical, like shrine / Lord of the Rings / mountainous Nausicaa Valley of the Winds style thing for your enjoyment. Yet more mossy rocks, yet more mountains and mist and clouds and strange structures. I'm looking at it right now and I'm not totally pleased with the outcome. I feel like it's not busy enough. It doesn't look filled enough. Maybe I could maybe add more, like more trees, make it more foresty, or more buildings, more ruins. I don't know, but I mean, I like it. I'm pleased with it. I hope you like it too, and I hope you enjoy watching it. But yeah, I think I just wanted to go for like a very generic, normal Poncho Pilgrim image this video, because I wanted to talk about some other things. There's been something on my mind recently that I wanted to talk about. Don't know if it's interesting at all. I don't think it is. I've been talking about a few things recently, like doing clickbaity titles in a way, not really, but kind of just like saying things that may be a bit extreme, but then backing up my stance and just discussing topics that are like classic arty internet-y topics. But it sort of triggered in my head another thing that I've been thinking about recently that I wanna, just lay out there. I wanna just say and post on the internet, because why not? A while back there was a video where I was just talking about like yin yang and just the general principles of how that relates to so many things in the world, and it's almost like a scientific theory more than it is a philosophy, in my opinion. Just a perspective to have on the world, how if there is one thing, there's got to be sort of the opposite. In general, most of the time, there kind of is, like life and death. You can't have one without the other, light and dark, things like that. That sort of train of thought, I've been thinking about words and sort of their impact and what people say. And I feel like there's this sort of just stemmed from, I said some things like about what pixel art is, and I've been rethinking and thinking about it. And like my fundamental stance just sort of is like, if the intention is to make pixel art, and you're hand placing the pixels, it doesn't matter what that looks like in the end. You've got a graphics tablet and you're drawing them, you're placing them individually. As long as there is a controlling of where the pixels are going, even if your brush is really erratic and it's like doing a bunch of pixels all at once and there's an element of randomness to it, as long as you are just intentionally drawing or creating with pixels, it's going to be pixel art. But anyway, let's not go down that road again. Let's not get into little conversations and arguments about that. This idea of, sometimes you say things and then maybe you're purposely saying them in a way to impact upon the other person that you're talking to. Let me try and word this in a way that makes sense. Principles of yin yang, of like cause and effect and how things relate to one another. How, I guess this relates to sort of like arguments and debates and things. And I've just been thinking about how weird it is, but also how maybe important it is to think about. How some people will say things in a certain way just because they know that they need to be said that way in order to make the correct impact on the person that they're talking to. So, for example, you might be like wanting to ask someone to do something for you, and the way that you ask your friend, who will just do it for you because they're your friend, compared to someone that you don't know very well or that doesn't like you very well, you're gonna word what you're gonna say differently. Not a wild statement, but we're constantly like sort of being careful with our words and choosing what we say in order to, I'm not talking about like lying, and I'm not talking about like tricking people or anything. I'm just simply saying like our words, you learn that your words have an impact. Certain people take certain things from what you say. So you might be saying something completely like, you might say something like very mundane and normal, nothing crazy. But someone might hear something in what you've said and react to it in a very different way to someone else. And so I've just been thinking about how, I've got my strong beliefs. I've got my strong left-leaning beliefs. You know me. I know you-ish, except we don't, do we? Because we're in this parasocial agreement, so that's strange. We've come to a point where, because we've got this massive communication and the internet is bringing all these people, like I feel like we are truly at a point in time in history where we have got the largest amount of different people and different takes all communicating at the same time. Like, you can go back in history and say, like, sure, yeah, it's not as if people in the UK weren't aware of people on the other side of the world and weren't in communication. But at this point, we are in a constant sort of like global conversation almost at all times with people from all over the place. Words impacting everyone differently. Things are being said that affect different people differently. I just feel like deep down, the point that I'm trying to get to with all this is just that I believe very strongly in sort of like socialist, leftist things that need to be strengthened in our society more. I talked about it before in the yin yang, how like you can look at Eastern and Western philosophies and societies and see how some are more individualistic than others, and other societies have more of a like empathetic, community-based, caring philosophies in their societies. And yet when some people hear those words, they have been subjected to propaganda to make you think that that is not what that's not what they mean, or like that's not what it's about. So like, for example, a very real example is sort of like the word communism. Huge swathes of like the right wing and also just like normal people in America especially, but in other places too, have just associated that word with very bad things that aren't even necessarily true. I would argue personally that most of the time that someone is sort of disparaging communism, they are actually just simply disparaging dictatorships and not actually specific communist or like socialist ideas. Normally everything is based on the idea that there is someone in power enforcing all this. So you're describing a dictatorship, a lot like how, in most capitalistic countries, we are also subjugated to the whims and wills of like those in power. Anyway, that is to say, I just think that there's so much miscommunication in some of these things that what I'm trying to get at is that I just always feel like there are people out there that need to hear things said in a certain way. I just feel like we're just at a moment where normally, in my opinion, the people that need to be heard, we need empathy. It's always left-leaning people, left-wing people, so social justice warriors, right? They are saying things that need to be said. But other people hear those things and interpret it in a different way that is just like solely based on like ego and antagonism, and they hear things that they've interpreted, oh well, this means that you hate this and blah blah blah, and then that becomes the conversation, that becomes the argument, and what is not being talked about is the actual issues. And so it's just this weird world where we're all reacting to certain like words that people use rather than the actual issues that are in play, and that some people seem to be unaware of like the propaganda that they've been subjected to their entire lives, to the point where, things like saying socialism is like, oh my god, alarms, shit, he said socialism. Because surely we are all on the page that we want to like live in a world where we're getting on with one another, huh? And that beliefs that aren't talking about that are not beliefs that you really want to, delve into. But on top of that, there are certain things that I just feel like you need to be able to read and understand and sort of ingest and wrestle with in your own life and in your own ego, and not react in the way that you might initially respond to it as. I know I'm sort of tiptoeing around certain phrases and things that I'm like alluding to, but like it just feels like time and time again what happens is people hear certain things and certain ideas about the way that the world is and how unfair and unjust the world is, and they get personally offended or they get super involved in certain words that mean something different to them. And I think I don't know if that ramble has made any sense at all. I just find it crazy to me that some people don't get passionate about some things. That's all. And I just think it's so easy, and I understand why, you can't live your life constantly turned up to 11 on all things. But just to have it within you that you understand what sort of is going on with how unfair the world is and how much poverty and how much things that is not affecting you is going on, to the point where to say things like, oh, I just think you need to get all your information from all sides and, you just do your best and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, man. I just feel like you gotta get passionate about things. Like, I always think about, global warming. Some people think of global warming as black and white, like climate and nature and looking after the environment. To them, that's it. It's just like, obviously, that's what we've got to do. And anyone who are going for fossil fuels and all that, blah blah blah, is obviously the bad route. And then when it comes to more social issues, they suddenly everything becomes a bit like, well, I don't know, blah blah blah, and it's like, it's crazy to me. All I've been trying to get out of my consciousness is how that relates to words and how we interpret things. I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but I just think that you need to question yourself more. Question your biases and why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. And also, this is just because I just know I've got like a heavily male audience. I'm just some cis white male, the epitome of privilege, yeah? And I just think there's more dudes out there that need to understand that that's a truth that doesn't necessarily mean things like you haven't had hardship, whatever. But what it does mean is that the things that are being talked about that aren't about you are also very important. In fact, more important. And there are just things that you need to grapple with in your own life and in your own world. We're all human. We've all got emotions. There's just too much reactionary shit going on. Because it's just nuts to me that you would feel victimized by, like, for example, feminists or like black power movements. I just feel like you need to be able to realize that you're on that side as well. Like, that is a good movement to get behind, and that you aren't. I just think there's too many egotistical people out there who feel attacked by certain phrases, is all I'm saying. And I just think it's dumb. Anyway, we're all in this together. We're all fighting this fight. We're only on this planet for a short time. What is the point in making up all these rules and arbitrary regulations that are just ruining the time that we have, We need more love. We need more empathy. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. But you've also got to grow up and learn how to withhold complicated ideas. All right, and realize that this Western world that you've been born and raised in is pretty lame. That's all. This got heavy fast. Look, it's a little windmill. I wonder who would live there. I imagined it as a sort of like a bit like the Lord of the Rings, like bonfires that get lit. They're like weird little shrines where maybe there's just one little worker who works there. And I don't know what. Maybe it's for energy. Maybe they're wind turbines. I try to make it look like there's little like metal engravings on the buildings, and also like loads of weird like paper things, like as if there's like posters and things being put up and prayer slips or something. I also like the idea that there's like these pillars and there's an internal windmill, so the wind like goes through the building. Wow, I rambled for so long about words and things, and I don't really know whether I got my point across. But what can you do? It's just one video. This is just one little bit of footage. One little video uploaded on one little YouTube channel from one little person in one little world. Am I right? That's all it is. There'll be more videos on the way. Spoilers, I've filmed a Hades gameplay video. It's just one run. It's incredibly long. I just want to upload it as like one long video, but I'm waiting a bit before it goes up. Like, I feel like I needed to do some more art in between because I've posted too many strange, unusual videos that are not my norm, But anyway, I hope you're doing all right. Go check out my print store. Go buy some prints from me. Maybe I'll put this up at some point. Who knows? Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting my stuff. I hope you're doing well on the other side of the screen, and I hope you're listening to my words and interpreting them in your own way, taking them from them what you want and what you need. This is just off the top of my dome stuff. I don't know what I'm going on about half of the time.